There's a glow that's burning in the night. I can see it on the other side. Are we dancing into paradise? On your streets of gold. On your streets of gold. There's a love that's waiting to ignite. I can feel it burning deep inside. Are we dancing into paradise? On your streets of gold. On your streets of gold. Hear the choir singing. Hear the church bells ringing. Walk the streets made of gold. Like a river flowing in my soul. Like a river flowing in my soul. Like a river flowing in my soul. Shine a light of good for all to see. Full of hope and love and melody. We're all dancers waiting to be free. On your streets of gold. On your streets of gold. Hear the choir singing. Hear the church bells ringing. Walk the streets made of gold. Like a river flowing in my soul. Hear the choir singing. Hear the church bells ringing. Walk the streets made of gold. Like a river flowing in my soul. Like a river flowing in my soul. Like a river flowing in my soul.
Walk on the streets that are made of gold. We will walk on the streets that are made of gold. Walk on the streets that are made of gold. We will walk on the streets that are. Oh, hallelujah.
Hear the choir singing. Hear the church bells ringing.
Come on,
Walk the streets made of gold. Like a river flowing in my soul. Hear the choir singing. Hear the church bells ringing. Walk the streets made of gold. Like a river flowing in my soul. 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 You, it's only you who designed the stars and loves my heart. You never leave my side. You, it's only you who can split the seas, still wait for me. Why am I walking blind, stumbling? You carry me home. You carry me home.
So tonight we're going to talk about things that you should know about the Latin Mass, the traditional Latin Mass. Things that if you don't know about it, then you should be ashamed of yourself. Just kidding about that. Hi, my name is Father Christopher Plant. I'm the pastor of St. Bartholomew here in Katy, Texas.
My name is Father Rick Arriola, and I'm one of the parochial vicars here.
And here he is. And you are, sir?
I'm Father Richard Hinkley, parochial vicar at St. John Vianney Catholic Church.
Welcome to Conversing Clergy, clergy who talk and listen.
Here I am at your door. Would you let me in? I have gained all the world.
Okay, so it's so great for all of us to be here together. By the way, because we have some technical difficulties with Skype, sometimes you'll see Father Richard kind of dip in and out, but he can hear us the whole time, so that's a good thing. It's just a video thing. All right, I want to welcome all of our subscribers, our regular viewers who are with us. We're so happy you're here with us tonight. Also, our Patreon patrons who continue to sustain Conversing Clergy, helping us to advance in our mission. And also our visitors who are here with us for the first time. Glad that you're here. We hope that you feel welcomed. The charism of Conversing Clergy is to be clergy who converse with each other, also with you, so that we can most especially feel a conversation with Jesus Christ himself, just like the disciples who are on their way to Emmaus, so that at the end of our encounters together, our hearts will burn within us with divine grace. So we do that with programs every single Wednesday night with different topics, also with our rosaries that we offer up on Tuesday and Thursday, English and Spanish at 3 p.m., and also the various videos that we publish as well. So if you are interested in keeping in connection with us to be part of this journey, we welcome you to hit the follow and like on the Facebook page, and also like the video, and you can share it with others. If you're on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button, or you can also hit the bell, which is more important, so that you can, most importantly, if you can click the all instead of the personalize also, by the way, I should mention that, so that you can receive all the notifications whenever we go live or publish videos, and you can hit the thumbs up if you like the video too. All right. Also, because just like I said, Conversing Clergy is all about conversing. That includes you too. And we love it when you make comments, when you ask questions on the Facebook and YouTube channels. You're very, very welcome to do so. And you actually shape the conversation for tonight. Just think of it like as if we were there at your house, or if you're over here in the studio and just having conversations. That's what it's all about. And we always have a topic for the evening to be the substance of our conversation. So tonight will be about the 3 things you should know about the traditional Latin Mass, 3 things that you would like to know. And before we go into that topic, again, I invite you to go ahead and start chiming in and taking your seat on the YouTube and Facebook channels, and we'll be happy to say out loud your different call-outs. So we do have Isabel Champion, who says good evening from Edinburgh, Texas. Good evening, Isabel. Jackie Wilson is with us too, saying blessed evening, fathers. Looking forward to learn more of tonight's topic. And Claudia Sanchez is with us. Nuria Layosa. Father Chris Alvaro says Father Christopher looks younger without a beard. That's right. People are continuing to comment about it. Marty Brown says, bless you, fathers. So ready to learn more about the Latin Mass. On the YouTube Conversing Clergy channel, Maria Leon is with us. Says, welcome, Father Richard. So great to have you. And Kevin Reyes says, Father Clean. I guess he's referring to me again. Yep. Serena is saying, good evening to our Holy Fathers. And Joe Beth says, welcome, Fathers. Looking forward to tonight. Gail Weber's with us. Good evening, Fathers. Looking forward to tonight's topic. I'm switching over now to our St. Bartholomew YouTube channel. Nadia Elena's with us, and so is LaDonna. So glad to have you all with us. And also Cynthia just popped in here. Good evening to all of God's pastors. So Father Richard, you want to share a little bit about yourself as well as people are jumping into the channels?
Sure. I am a native Houstonian. I was born in Memorial Southwest Hospital 36 years ago.
Wow.
And grew up in the Sharpstown area. My mom is from Havana, Cuba, and my dad was born in North Miami. I am the product of 2 chemical engineers. And yes, raised, so kind of like Mowgli, raised by 2 chemical engineers in the wilderness.
Yeah. I mean, when you say you're a product of 2 chemical engineers, were they using chemical engineering to produce you, or was it by the usual way?
It was the usual way.
I was going to say Exxon's getting super
the ethical way.
Yeah, I was going to say Exxon
way,
getting super fancy, with the chemical engineering over there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Father. Go ahead.
So I grew up at St. Francis de Sales in Sharpstown, and so really the first pastor I knew growing up was Monsignor Bill Pickard. And from there I went to Strake. It was just a couple blocks from my house. And for undergraduate, I attended the University of Notre Dame. Go
cool.
Irish.
Cool.
And from there, I worked in a law firm for a year. I did a year of law school, and then entered seminary in the fall of 2008, where I did 2 years up at Holy Trinity, and then the last 5 years at the North American College in Rome.
Awesome.
The parishes I've been assigned at have included St. Thomas More and St. Helens in Pearland.
Right.
I just noticed that many of our priests that have been a guest here, we share that in common, that we all went to Holy Trinity.
Yeah, right.
At some point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Holy Trinity. I was there in 2000. I want to say 2001 and up to 2003, and Yeah. And did you get your degree from Did you get your degree at Holy Trinity, or you already had your degree at Notre Dame? You just said Notre Dame, right? That's where you got.
Yes,
your
I
degree.
had my
Yeah.
undergrad from Notre Dame.
Okay.
Holy Trinity was just kind of going to UD, beefing up on philosophy,
Gotcha.
and then the other degrees from either the Gregorian or Sant Anselmo in Rome.
Awesome, fantastic. And then what do you do for? You do something for the archdiocese, do you not? I think I made sure to look at your LinkedIn profile, and I sent you a request, by the way, a couple of days ago. So thanks for accepting it. You did not accept it yet. So I feel rejected.
I am remiss in accepting your invitation.
Yeah.
Yes. So every diocese is supposed to have, in addition to an office of worship. So the way it's set up here in the archdiocese is the office of worship serves as kind of like the executive office in terms of implementing in our case, Cardinal DiNardo's, but the local ordinaries, local bishops, liturgical governance and vision for the archdiocese. And the Liturgical Commission serves as an advisory body. So if an issue comes up that, in this case, the Cardinal wants us to consider, we have a collection of experts and experienced individuals in local parishes to provide him with advice and counsel with regard to liturgical matters. And then we do that in close consultation with the Office of Worship, so that with his approval, those recommendations can be implemented.
Oh, great. Okay.
So before me, for example, Father James Burkhardt was on the commission for something like 12 years. It was a
long time.
Yes.
Yeah, a very long time. So here you are filling those shoes, and it's so great. Then I mean, it's a real blessing to have you here tonight because of the topic, especially. Speaking of which, we'll be getting into the topic in just a second, and also let you know about the schedule for this evening too. So we'll go into the topic, a little bit of conversation about that, and then we'll show one photo of the domestic church. So we're not getting a whole lot of folks sending in pictures, and that's perfectly fine. But if you do want to send one in, we'll be happy to share it. So I just have one that I kind of saved, that I think is pretty cool, and you'll see why. And maybe we'll have some Q&A for sure, and then we'll end with the Salve Regina. If you behave, we will show some memes as well. Have a little bit of meme time, but we'll see. We'll see how everybody is tonight. Okay. So before we get started, I always have to take a sip of coffee, man. I need energy.
I know.
And tonight I have the Conversing Clergy that was handcrafted for us. It has my name on it. I think you have one as well. I don't drink from it very often because it is, it has like kind of a delicate sort of finish on the outside, so I don't want to ruin it. But I said I'm gonna use it for tonight. So here's the Conversing Clergy with the rosary on the backside.
That's nice.
Salud. And this is decaf coffee with stevia, because decaf by itself tastes nasty.
Yeah. Well, my mug, I don't
It's
know.
boring.
It is a boring
What is
mug.
wrong with you?
I mean, to be honest,
You didn't even try.
I didn't even try.
I'm embarrassed.
I just opened the door, grabbed the first one, and
I'm
sometimes,
embarrassed by you right now.
some days you just do things like that. You know what? Just you open the door, whatever's in front of you, you just take it and you go with it. So cheers.
It's the simplicity fitting for a diocese.
There you go.
That's what it
Thank
is.
you,
That's
Father
what it
Richard.
is. You also that it's ordinary, just like we're in ordinary time, would have been a suitable answer
There you
as
go.
well. And then Father Richard, he already showed us what the mug
I
is.
think I was
but
boasting my mug already.
yeah, a couple of times there.
The seal of the University of Notre Dame. In fact, apropos for the Salve Regina, the seal includes the
That's right.
Vita Dulcedo et Spes Nostra.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah,
Nice.
that's awesome.
I like it.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're getting into throwing in some Latin in there too. So that's a really good thing. All right, let's go ahead and begin in prayer. Father Ricardo, you want to lead us?
Yes.
Ready? Okay.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit,
as it was
As
in
it
the
was in the
beginning,
beginning,
is
is
now,
now,
and ever shall
never
be,
shall be,
world without
world
end.
without end.
Amen.
Amen.
Saint Padre Pio,
Pray for us.
Pray for us.
in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. All right. So, Father DeCarlo, you're going to kick us off, huh?
All right. Yes. So I'm going to talk about the first thing that we should all know about the traditional Latin Mass. And, these things are just kind of like for the first timers, those who have not experienced the Latin Mass that much. And, for some of them, they haven't, or for some of them, they have gone once or twice and they have seen things differently. So this first thing it's kind of a collection of things. So
and the traditional Latin Mass is basically what we do now is the extraordinary form, but this was the Mass that was formally put together by the Council of Trent,
yes.
right? The Tridentine Rite that has been celebrated, and then it was modified just a little bit in 1962, correct?
Right. So that's another way to refer to this
Yeah.
Mass is the Tridentine Mass.
Yeah.
But really, right? It's some of the components of this Mass, just go back centuries since the very early beginnings.
Yeah.
So it's a Mass of all ages. That's another way to describe this Mass. But yeah, in fact, on the Exaltation of the Cross, we celebrated the 13th anniversary of the motu proprio issued by Pope Benedict XVI called Summorum Pontificum. And a motu proprio it's an official document by a promulgated by a pope to state something.
Mm-hmm.
And what he stated is that the Latin Mass, the traditional Latin Mass, has never been abrogated. So what he affirmed is that the Roman Rite has two legitimate forms to celebrate it. And he called it the 1962, which it was the last year that the traditional Latin Mass had any revisions, to be the extraordinary form of the Roman Rite. And the Novus Ordo, which is the regular Mass that you all experience every Sunday, that will be the ordinary form of the Roman Rite. So specifically, we are talking about the extraordinary form of the Mass, which we have been so blessed to celebrate already four times, once a month here at the parish. So I want to begin with the first thing, and that is kind of like the absence of many things that we are accustomed. And so this is just a collection of things. So the first one is you won't see in the traditional Latin Mass altar girls. You will never see that. Altar girls was an innovation that happened within the history of the Church. Specifically, it happened in 1983 with the new Code of Canon Law, and then there was a clarification actually coming in 1994 from Rome that actually, yes, there can be some girls being altar servers. But since we are using the Missal from 1962 and all the norms and liturgical books from 1962, well, guess what? It does not permit to have girls as altar servers. So you will only see altar boys in a traditional Latin Mass. And why is this? Well, this is an action that being at the altar, serving at the altar, is an action that is traditionally been for only men. Right? So even if the altar servers are not in seminary formation, they participate in an action that is very close to priestly actions, right? And priests, as you know, they can only be men. That's something that the Church will never change because we don't have the authority to do that, not even the Pope. So for centuries, right, this has been the way the Church has cultivated vocations to the priesthood, is by, early on, these little boys starting to serve at the altar, and, they grow in this love of Jesus in the Eucharist and in the service of the liturgy. And that for many centuries, that has been the way to cultivate vocations. Also in the traditional Latin Mass, altar boys represent the congregation. They respond for the people. The people are not required to respond, although there are some dialogue masses even before Vatican II, but mainly in a low mass, the altar servers, they represent the people. Yeah. And as we know, biblically speaking, men, and we talked about this last time, but men are representatives of entire nations. They are representatives of families, right? We can see that by keeping, for example, the last name of the husband, even today,
Sure.
right? Is the last name of the man that goes on, right? So the man has always been the representative of a whole, of nations, of families. And also, they are in this area of the church building that is considered the head, right? If you consider the traditional form of the church in a cruciform, just like St. Bartholomew is, the sanctuary is where the head is. And as you know, the head is Jesus, who is a man. And that also is related to marriage, right? That the man is the head. The husband is the head of the wife, properly understood. I think we've talked about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, these are just kind of like reasons why the church for many centuries, they have only allowed altar boys. Another thing that you won't see in a traditional Latin Mass are lay readers or lay lectors. Only the priest at a low Mass or a deacon and a subdeacon at a high Mass will read the epistle or the lesson and the gospel. And as you know, reading is a liturgical function. And so before Vatican II, that is reserved only to subdeacon, deacon, and priest, the major orders, how they used to be called. Also, you won't see extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion at the Latin Mass. In the traditional Latin Mass, you will only receive the Eucharist from the hands of a priest. Why? Because their hands are consecrated, and there's actually a beautiful way for each communicant. The priest says, it's actually longer. In the Novus Ordo is just the body of Christ, Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
But in Latin is Corpus Domini Nostri Jesu Christum. Domini Nostri Jesu. Can you help me? Father?
Yeah, Corpus Domini Nostri Jesu Christi
custodiam animam tuam in vita aeternam. Yeah. Corpus Domini Nostrum Jesu Christum custodiam animam tuam in vitam aeternam. Okay. And for each one, right? So it's a very special moment, and so the priest is the only one who will distribute the Eucharist. Communion in the hand, that's something that we have been accustomed in the Novus Ordo, but you won't find in the traditional Latin Mass. Why? Again, the rubrics from the 1962 don't allow that. Also, the Mass offered facing the people versus populum, you won't find that in a traditional Latin Mass. It will only be ad orientem, which we have done here even in the Novus Ordo.
Right.
So that's not just a characteristic of the traditional Latin Mass.
It is part of the rite. Yeah.
It is part of the rite. Yeah. You won't find a versus populum TLM.
Yeah, it's not an option.
Also, you won't hear any secular or Protestant music. You won't hear that. You will hear the propers, which are called the antiphons, the introit, the offertory antiphon, and the communion antiphon. It's in the rite. You cannot sing anything that is not that for those specific moments. You can add some polyphony and beautiful pieces like you have heard in the masses that we have celebrated here. But all of those are music that was composed for the liturgy, for the Mass. So you won't hear any secular melodies or a Protestant song that you heard in KSBJ, on your way to church, right?
Yeah, right.
That happened to me once. I was driving, I was listening, "How Great Is Our God," and then I go into the Mass, and the first song was "How Great Is Our God."
Yeah, right. Just continuing the
like,
journey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Also, you won't see the sign of peace happening at the traditional Latin Mass, and you won't have the vernacular during the Mass, except obviously for the homily. And sometimes what some priests will do, if they don't have worship aids, they will repeat the readings before giving the sermon in the pulpit. So I know I gave like 8 different ones, but I just wanted to bring this as the kind of like the first thing, like things that we have been accustomed. And when you go to the traditional Latin Mass, it's like, hey, where is this? Where is this? Where is this? Well,
Right.
You won't find it.
You also won't find meme time.
It's meme time, it's meme time. Gather all your friends, it's meme time. It's meme time, it's meme time. The only cure for sadness. It's meme.
All right, we're cutting it short. So also what is missing is this man's beard. Does not having a beard make me look younger? So, and it's an old man.
That's
that up.
That's you in 50 years.
Yeah, that's me in 50 years. That's what people keep saying. Father, you don't have a beard. I said, no, I still have a beard. It's just a whole lot shorter. I'm just shaving a bit closer now.
Do you know that guy, or who is that? A random?
He's from the internet. He's an internet guy. So what did you think, Father Richard? Is it a thumbs up on this one or a thumbs down?
I have to stand by my maternal grandmother and be anti-beard. At one point when she saw I was trying to grow my beard out, she said, "You can grow your beard out when I'm dead." And so in that graceful way that only grandmothers can do, I've been shamed into not growing my beard out until forever. Pretty much.
Just don't walk into the room one day with a beard and say, "How you feeling?"
I know, right?
Father Richard, do you know if
thumbs up, by the way? Thumbs up if you like it. Thumbs down if you didn't. And this is from Laura Montre, so we appreciate you sending this in. Go ahead.
Father Richard, do you know if this was ever a rubric or something that priests in the Roman Rite should be shaved?
I believe so. It's been a while since I've read on that, but it was certainly, I think, traditional for... Now, that may have been a custom of the Romans for a while to be clean-shaven, but I know that's something that the Greeks and Eastern Christians would criticize the West, that we were basically too obsessed with our appearances and our womanish faces, that real men grow beards. And I think starting with some of the mendicant orders and into the Renaissance and Baroque period, beards kind of came back into fashion and they were out of fashion. So
yeah, because you do see it. I mean, obviously, like the saint for today, Saint Pio, he had a beard.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, but he wasn't diocesan, right?
Oh, yes.
Right. I think by the late 19th, early 20th century, it was more common to see it among the mendicants.
Oh, see, there you go. All right, checking out some of the comments here in response to Father Ricardo's segment. So let's see. Someone did say Father Ricardo's drinking from his cup of humility. So that's a good one. All right, Serena was kind of chiming in there. I'm on the Conversing Clergy YouTube channel, by the way. And we love you. We love that you put comments in here. It really is great. Thank you for your participation. So Serena says that talking about the Tridentine Mass promulgated in 1570 by Pope Pius V, and also X-Wing chimed in and said Pius V was a great pope indeed. Serena continues by saying it standardized the liturgy and protected it as well from Protestant error. Kevin Reyes makes a little bit of a wisecrack joke here. Altar girls are also known as female altar boys, so I've heard that before. And Serena says no woman shall be allowed in quote unquote the court of the priests. So it's kind of like kind of reminds me of the temple, the old temple worship. So thumbs up and laughs for the meme. So I'm glad to see that. And to beard or not to beard, that is the question, says Serena. And Gail Weber says, a lot of work to keep your face shaved. Thanks for that. Love all your clean-shaven faces. Thank you, Gail. We do our best. Going now to the Facebook page for St. Bartholomew. There is a question here. Is Extraordinary Form from 1962 significantly different from the Mass established by Pope Pius V? And which of those two is used by groups such as the Fraternity of St. Pius X?
Father Richard, if you want to take that.
That is a big question. Depending on who you ask, the Missal of Paul VI, that we refer to as the Novus Ordo or the ordinary form of the Roman Rite, is radically different or in strong continuity with the Roman tradition. So if you're asking specifically about the Society of St. Pius X, if I'm not mistaken, they are using the missal of not. I don't know if they use the 1962 missal or if they use perhaps the missal of 1955. They may actually use an earlier version because I don't know if they between 50. I'm sorry. Yes, between 50. I'm going to get my dates mixed up here, but at some point in the 50s, there were two major revisions of the rites of Holy Week. I want to say in 51 and 55, and I don't think they observe either of those liturgical changes to Holy Week. So that's why I hesitate to say that they use the 62 missal.
Yeah. So there you go. And Lourdes Arriola is asking, ¿La misa tradicional también es la misma que la misa tridentina? So in English, the traditional mass or the Latin mass is the same as the Tridentine mass, I guess is the question from Father Ricardo's sister there.
Yes, sí, es la misma misa con pequeñas revisiones, o sea, más bien es en las palabras, pero no en los movimientos de la liturgia, ni en las rúbricas. Bueno, a lo mejor algunas rúbricas muy pequeñas, pero realmente es esa, es la misa del Concilio de Trento.
Okay. So if I can just translate everything he said it pretty much is the same, but with a few adjustments. So Kim Kish says, and the communicant does not say amen for the extraordinary form. If you give communion, they don't say amen, huh?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So there you go. Lots of laughs for the memes. Let's see. Crispy Neumann says, anytime I shave my beard, my kids don't say that I look younger. They just say that I look weird. All right. And Ron's Go asks, are all priests around the world, do they know or teach how to celebrate the Latin Mass? Well, I can tell you right now, I don't know how to celebrate the Latin Mass, and it's not something that's necessarily taught in every seminary. It might be in some seminaries, especially certain religious orders might have that as part of their formation. So let's see. Jenny Wong says, when I've been to Latin Mass, the ladies seem to all wear a head covering. Is that a requirement? It's not a requirement in these days. I know, Father Ricardo, you and I talked about this. You were saying that it was actually a precept at one time, or for women to wear head covering in Mass?
No, I don't think there...
Or was it always a custom?
It's my understanding that really there are no rubrics for the laity in the traditional Latin Mass. I think it was just... I don't know. I don't remember.
I know it was
Father Richard,
practiced.
do you know if there was a
I think it was a canonical requirement.
Okay.
And so, like you said, there weren't any rubrics for the posture and gestures of the lay faithful at Mass. But so with the revision of canon law and also other changes prior to the 83 Code, that requirement of women to have their heads covered was made optional, essentially. So,
Right,
yeah.
And, something just a little bit to add, because people are asking, first is biblical, right? St. Paul talks about this. Second, everything that is beautiful. I heard this in a homily, and it's really nice. It says, everything that is beautiful, that is mysterious, it is veiled at Mass, right?
Yeah.
The chalice, and so... it's the tabernacle, but it's beautiful also that when the couple is a man and a woman come to the sacrament of matrimony, what are they wearing? Usually the bride is veiled.
It's veiled, right?
So you can draw so many beautiful theological points from a wedding, but it doesn't have to just stop there, right? I mean, you can continue with those signs and symbols to remind that women represent definitely this aspect of the church entering into marriage with our Lord.
Exactly.
A mystical marriage.
Yeah, and I'm seeing. I just saw a post here from Katie Robson chiming in, replying to Jenny. Also, of course, affirming that it's not required, but then put a website on there. And I welcome you to check that out if you want to. Veilsbylily.com. I'm assuming this is a woman named Lily who produces and sells veils. But I'm just kind of looking at it really quickly. So, and I trust Katie as well. So you can check out that site. Okay, very cool. Suzanne Bueno says many churches aren't including Latin masses, and just a few years ago they weren't. Or many churches are including it. That is correct. I have seen that. It's a continuing trend. And talking to my brother priests, we have been seeing the wisdom of including it as part of our repertoire, as it were. Kim says also she is so elated that Latin Mass is being celebrated in Houston and is grateful for today. Katie says here's a couple more quotes on veiling. The veil is a visual sermon, a public proclamation before the Lord that he is the Lord and that we love him and that we are ready to obey him. It's a totally counter-cultural statement proclaiming obedience in the midst of a culture that is totally permeated with this attitude of I will not serve. And the veil is a sign of the great dignity inherent to a woman who has the potential to receive life within herself, both human life and the supernatural life of God. This is an important message the world needs to hear now more than ever. So thank you for that reflection there, Katie. And I do see Katie she does wear the veil at the masses. Yeah. And people, a lot of women chiming in right now about that question. So they're like, yeah, I was about to drop the same link. And Kim says girls receiving Holy Communion also typically are veiled. That's correct. And I have seen girls that are veiled when they come up to receive communion. So I think that's beautiful.
And practically speaking, some women have told me that it helps them to be more focused.
Yeah, because they don't have to
at the altar.
They don't have to do their head up. They don't have to do their hair up. Yeah. You know, I mean, it takes more maintenance. We have all that hair, all that long hair.
That's true. That's another practical element.
I mean, I kind of wish I could veil my hair. You know, if when my hair gets super long, I wish I had a veil just to cover it up because it's a mess.
Wow.
Let's see. Nancy says on the YouTube channel for St. Bartholomew. I like how you chimed in there, Father Richard. Nancy says, Father Christopher, you are too young to need coffee in the evening. Are you taking vitamins? I like you with the beard. Too bad. No, it's decaf, so it's fine. And Laurie says, hello, good to be here. So kind of quiet on the St. Bartholomew YouTube channel there. So good. We got a lot of great comments coming in on the YouTube channel for Conversing Clergy, but we're going to have to move on to the next topic. But we love that you're engaging. Please keep them coming. So we got our second one on our list, and I think Father Richard is going to guide us on this one.
Sure. So the second topic about things that will probably strike you about the Latin Mass is the silent canon. So what do we mean by the silent canon? Well, if we remember the parts of the Mass, the Mass is divided into two parts, whether we use the language of Liturgy of the Word, Liturgy of the Eucharist, or we use the older terminology of the Mass of the catechumens, that more or less parallels the Liturgy of the Word, and the Mass of the faithful, so the Liturgy of the Eucharist. The canon refers to the Eucharistic prayer, the anaphora, the sacrifice, the offering. We're here at the climax of the Eucharistic synaxis. As the central part of the Mass, certainly all of our attention is going to be focused on the action that we're all called to be active participants in. And in the 1962 Mass, as it was the case for centuries before it, the Eucharistic prayer, in which the thanksgiving and the sacrifice of Christ, the sacrifice of Calvary, is offered in an unbloody manner, where the bread and wine are converted into the body, the true body and true blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. This is all happening within the Eucharistic prayer. Now, in the Roman Rite, pretty much as far as we've known the Roman Rite as such, has only had one Eucharistic prayer. And in the Novus Ordo, the ordinary form, the first of the four main Eucharistic prayers is that Roman canon. It's pretty ancient, probably the 3rd century, the 200s. We know that St. Ambrose, writing in the 300s, quotes significant parts of the Roman canon. And so when we're at a Mass in the extraordinary form, what you'll notice is we'll go into the preface dialogue, so the preface of the Eucharistic prayer, where the priest will greet us in the name of Christ. The Lord be with you. We respond, lift up your hearts. We lift them up to the Lord. Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. It is right and just. And then the priest begins reciting, if it's a low mass, or more fully chanting the preface, and then we expressing the particular reason for thanksgiving of that mass, and then we reach the Sanctus. Now, generally, in a mass in the ordinary form, we would all chant the Sanctus together, and then generally we would all kneel, and then the priest would begin aloud reciting or chanting one of the Eucharistic prayers. What will happen at a Mass in the extraordinary form, especially if it's a high Mass, a sung Mass, is that the Sanctus will begin, but at some point, the priest will begin praying the Roman canon, this first Eucharistic prayer. And when the Sanctus ends, there will be silence. And that silence is pretty much what we're experiencing, but in fact the priest is still reciting, but in a low voice that only he and maybe the server, those immediately around him, can hear, is reciting, is praying the Eucharistic prayer. Now, how did this come to be the case? Well, ancient public prayer would have been said aloud. So the earliest Eucharistic prayers, both in the West and the East, would have been said aloud. In fact, they most likely would have been chanted. And we have a number of texts that witness to the fact that the Eucharistic prayer, especially the Roman canon, would have been chanted not with the same kind of complexity as the preface, but it would have had kind of the kind of recitative, kind of like opera recitative tone that you would find for example, if you were to chant the gospel. So a lot of words on the same note. This was the case for perhaps the first 700, 800 years. But then things began to change, and they started to change in the East a little earlier than in the West. We have a record from the year 565, for example, where the emperor in the East, Justinian, in fact reprimands bishops and priests who would say the Eucharistic prayer silently in a manner that the assembly couldn't hear. Why they were doing that, we don't know, but at least this is kind of a in the legal codes of Justinian, a textual evidence that the practice was happening. In the West, we have to wait until the beginning of the end of the 8th century, so around 780, where we start to see references to the concelebrants at a Mass reciting the Eucharistic prayer in a voice a little quieter than the bishop. And it's not until the 9th century that we have the evidence of the Roman canon, the Eucharistic prayer, being recited now completely in silence. Why did this happen? The basic answer is we're not exactly sure why. Some authors, especially in the 18th and 19th century, thought that perhaps this was a means of part of the disciplina arcani, not sharing the things that are most sacred in a way that that could be profaned by pagans, by people who didn't understand what was going on. But this theory didn't jive with the fact that the whole disciplina arcani was really going on more in like the 3rd century, whereas these changes in the liturgy were taking place in the 9th. There's the idea that perhaps when the language of the Mass was differing enough from the vernacular language of the people that because there just wasn't an understanding of what the priest was saying, it didn't matter, how loud he said it or how quietly he said it. So as the choir would sing the Sanctus, and the Sanctus would become even more and more embellished and developed and ornate, and to beautify the liturgy, the priest would just continue praying the prayer, and oftentimes you would have composers that would compose the Sanctus in two parts. So you would have the Sanctus, and then you have the Benedictus, and at times the Benedictus would be started following the consecration of the wine, and so you would have this kind of musical overlay over kind of both halves of the Eucharistic prayer. Okay, so this is the tradition from, let's say, the 800s until, the mid-1960s, where even before we got the Missal of Pope Paul VI in 1969, there were several instructions that came out following Second Vatican Council that began to liberalize the opportunities to recite the various Eucharistic prayers aloud. What does a silent canon do? Well, it certainly, in the silence, it certainly emphasizes the role of Christ and the role of the ministerial priest as offering the one sacrifice of Christ. Not that the assembly is divorced from this sacrifice, but it certainly places the emphasis on, the ministerial priest at the altar, acting in persona Christi Capitis, is making this one offering, and it is surrounded by mystery. Many instances of silence from creation and sacred scripture in which God lives and moves and has his being in silence are reflected here. The silence can be a bit jarring and surprising at first, but before we maybe, I would say, pushed or think to label it as either good or bad, to understand, what orientation and what emphasis and what good it brings to what is essentially the action of the one liturgist, who is Christ.
And I can definitely, I had that experience when I was watching the Latin Mass as you were celebrating it, Father Ricardo. And by the way, Father Ricardo was just getting ready for the next part because I switched over to the broad view, and I'm listening to Father Richard, and I looked at you, and you looked absolutely like you were like bored. But I know you because I know you were listening.
Bored? No.
Yeah,
I was just like...
I know, but the way you looked, I was like, oh man, that's not good. I got to get off of this scene. But I know that you were paying attention because I know you. I know how you look.
No, the thing is,
But I wanted to say something real quick. But so I saw Father Ricardo when he was celebrating the Latin Mass, and I had that very strong sense that, just like you were talking about there, Father Richard, that the emphasis is being placed on Jesus Christ as manifest through the ministerial priest, the priest who is in persona Christi Capitis, and definitely had that sense, and that the role of the laity, and I was sitting in the pew, so I was kind of in that role, was to adore and to enter into that, like you were talking about at the beginning, Father Richard, actively into that mystery. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think also, Father Richard, what do you think about this? At that moment, right? Well, throughout the Mass, but really at that moment is so serious. The priest, right, is speaking to the Father, right? It's not a dialogue with the people. Even in the preface, right? That's why he's not even facing the people at that point, because he's already in heaven. Like he's already in the sanctuary. You don't, heaven, like the song says. I don't know if heaven came down or we went up, but and at that moment with the Eucharistic prayer, it's the priest speaking in persona Christi to the Father, and so to me, it's just for the people in the pews, it's a reminder. It's a reminder that the liturgy is not a gathering. It's not a conversation here on earth, right? The priest with his flock, but it's rather something beyond that that transcends time and space. And so I think the silence recitation of the canon reminds the people that at that special moment, the priest is speaking to the Father.
Yeah. And it also reminds me that there are certain parts of the Novus Ordo that where the priest does say certain prayers quietly that we're not supposed to be saying it out loud. Sometimes priests do that, but like there's the part of the placing the fragment of the host into the chalice, into the consecrated wine. May the mingling of this body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ bring us to eternal life. I hope I didn't mess up there. But those different parts that are I think it even says I don't know what the Latin term is, but it's like in secret. How would you say that in Latin? Like it tells us quietly in the English, but I know it's something like in secreto or something like that. Secreta.
Yeah,
so that's
vox,
it.
There are three voices in the traditional Latin Mass. Vox clara, which is loud voice. Vox secreta, which is quietly, and then vox media. Media. I think they have different names for that one, but that's as music is happening. It's a voice that it's loud enough for the servers to hear.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to read some of the comments here, and then we do have to move forward because we're almost out of time with this segment. But Serena on Conversing Clergy for YouTube says there were revisions that were made in 1604, 1634, 1884, 1920, and 1962. Some revisions there to the Missal. So that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Maria Cruz says, how many times do you do the sign of the cross during the high and also in the low Mass? I noticed that right away that there is a sign of the cross a few times. How many times would you say there is a sign of the cross, Father Richard?
In which the priest signs himself?
She's just saying sign of the cross in general.
Oh, well, because if you include like the blessings that he makes during the Eucharistic prayer, there are scores.
There's the answers.
Lots of signs of the cross.
Yeah,
maybe it's 33.
lots. Here's your answer, Maria Cruz. Serena says women were never told it was okay to come to the Mass unveiled. Yeah, I don't think it was ever prohibited. Or where the priest said, "All right, stop doing that." From hearing from other women about it. And Joe Best says she was taught to wear a mantilla for years. Serena says uncovered heads in ancient times on women meant they were available, and married women were uncovering during worship, so this went against custom. That's interesting. Let's see, I am kind of moving forward here. LaDonna does say that the veils from Lily are sold at the Little Flower, so there you go. So head out to Little Flower here in Katy, Texas. Cynthia Rojas says, when I was a child, it was mandatory at our church in Aruba. It shows reverence. And Serena says black veils were worn by married women and white were worn by single women, and that was the custom before Vatican II. So that's kind of cool.
Something interesting is that I don't know what year, Father Richard, maybe you can help me with this, but there was a separation. Men would sit on one side, on the right, I think, and then the women on the left. And again, why? Because when you enter the church and the Mass begins, you are in heaven. Right, quote unquote, yeah. You are in heaven, and in heaven there's no marriage.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I didn't think of it like that. I just thought that it would be less distracting.
So well,
it's like get the women over there.
I think a lot of it was based on cultural norms and public propriety at the time. But that spiritual kind of allegorization is not, you can't exclude that.
Yeah. And Maria Leon is asking, when will the next Latin Mass be celebrated? That is, we're shooting for October 22nd. We're trying to. We don't have that completely finalized yet. So we're hoping to get somebody to celebrate it for us. Because Father Ricardo is going to be away, taking a little bit of time off, so as he deserves. Sedena says the treasures the Mass holds is no mere vestige of pomp from medieval clerics, but a living tradition that incorporates the history of salvation. This pulls back the veil of time and eternity. Thank you for that. I think, and we'll probably talk about this next week. We'll get into the Conversing Clergy for next week about progressivism and the bashing, the unintelligent bashing of medieval, all things medieval, including that which was religious in nature. Lucy Kildo says, I'm looking at the Facebook page for St. Bartholomew. In the Latin Mass, there are 52 times the priest makes the sign of the cross. Let's see.
Okay.
Wendy Clark says, it's not the priest talking to his flock, he's praying with and on their behalf. Absolutely right. Kim Kish says, silence emphasizes reverence and helps focus on the true meaning and purpose of the Mass. Judy says, the veil does help me stay focused, less likely to look around at others, keeps me focused on what is going on at the altar. Wendy Clark, replying to Lucy, Wendy Clark and Lucy Kildo. I would say I will give you 3 stars for the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. And I don't know who this is on from Tara Salazar. This guy, I don't know. There's all kinds of crazy things going on. The people in the chat are taking all kinds of liberties, but I love it. It's a lot of fun. And Lori Nelson says, veil your face with your beard.
Wow.
Veil my face with the beard. All right. You know what else does not have a beard?
A meme.
Memes.
It's meme time, it's meme time. Gather all your friends, it's meme time, it's meme time, it's meme.
All right, I really like this one. This was, again, another one from Laura Matre, so kudos to you for sending a couple of high-quality memes. So this is a scene from, if you remember from the first of the sequels from Star Wars, of the final trilogy. There's a scene where she says, we heard all the stories about the Jedi and the Force and all that, but this time she says, we heard of the stories about the Latin Mass, the incense, the reverence, the Gregorian chant, the reception of the Eucharist on the tongue, and the piety of the clergy. And Han Solo says, it's true. All of it.
Okay, 2 thumbs
it's all
up.
the legends. I give it a thumbs up. What do you give that, Father Richard?
Well, to be sure, there is no green milk.
That's
in
true.
The traditional Latin Mass. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Like
For those familiar with The Last Jedi, yeah.
So as you can see, Father Richard, this is how he laughs. This is his. This is him laughing right now. This is what we're gonna get for tonight. All right, thumbs up if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't. I liked it. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. Obviously, I did because I included it. So both Star Wars and Latin Mass and Gregorian chant all in one meme. You can't go wrong with that.
You know what's interesting is that all of those elements, they can be applied to the Novus Ordo.
This is true.
Right.
Let's take another look at it.
What was it?
Incense.
Yes, you can have incense in Novus Ordo.
Reverence.
Yes, of course.
Gregorian chant.
Of course.
Reception of the Eucharist on the tongue.
Yes.
Piety of the clergy, not so much.
Oh, come on. Yes.
And Han Solo. All
yes.
of that can be included
so,
in the
you know,
Novus
all
Ordo.
of those elements, you can have that in the Novus Ordo. So,
and Star
there you
Wars.
go.
Star Wars can be in the Novus Ordo. I've included my homilies a few times. All right. So we got one more, but we're going to have to keep it quick here, Father Ricardo, because we're pretty much running out of time.
Yes. So the last thing that I brought is the priest chasuble. I don't know if you have noticed, but during the consecration, or more specifically at the elevations of the consecrated host and the chalice, the 2 servers, or if there's only one, there's only one, or the deacon at a high mass, Solomon High, lifts or raises slightly the chasuble of the priest. Now, why? Why is that happening? Well, to be fair, this is not a rubric for low masses, even though everybody does it at low masses, but it's more in pontifical mass. But the reason, first of all, is practical. The practicality of it, it's because usually the traditional vestments are very heavy. They have a lot of ornaments, and that's why the rubric is at a pontifical, because usually, you know, the bishop has this very elaborate chasubles, and so in order for the priest, you know, to raise that, the 2 servers or the deacon helps. So for practical reasons, right? Another reason, which is, I would even say, that it's ecclesiological or theological reason, is that the chasuble, right, is said to signify charity. And we get that from the vesting prayers, because before or during when the priest is wearing each of his vestments, he is supposed to say prayers that now are optional, but definitely they're beautiful because they say something about each vestment. And in that prayer, as the priest is wearing his chasuble, he refers the chasuble as the yoke of Christ. And also in the ordination mass, when the bishop bestows the chasuble upon the priest, he says the following: "Receive the priestly vestment, which is signified by charity," right? So the chasuble is a symbol of charity. And so as those assisting at the altar, right, when they are lifting the rim of the chasuble, well, it signifies that from charity, Jesus present in the Eucharist comes to us.
Yeah.
Right? The Eucharist is the sacramentum caritatis, the sacrament of love. So, that Jesus, right, his yoke is easy, his burden is light, right, because he dwells among us in the Eucharist. So it's to remind us, right, of that, the fullness of charity that this, the Blessed Sacrament is. And also I would say it has a biblical relationship there with, let me see, the quote here is Matthew 9:20, the story of the woman who was cured when she touched the hem of Christ's garment. I think everybody that sees that, they are reminded of that beautiful passage, right? Sure. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Father Ricardo. And that is something I always asked about that. And it's funny how it has like a practical application, and with time it develops, or using Father Richard's term there, it is allegorized. So very beautiful. And who else does that is Jesus. Jesus, God created us with certain practical elements that are just part of our lives, like eating, right? And then he takes something that is practical and he makes it sacred. So it is like it's almost like father like son, or like the church following the example of her founder, of we're the body of the Christ. And so we're picking up, I think, that same sort of habit of mind, taking that which is already part of us and making it sacred, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
All right, a lot of laughing. Wendy Clark liked Father Richard's comment, saying, "To be sure, there is no green milk in the Latin Mass." Quote of the night. I have to agree with you there, Wendy, to be sure. And Dave Rosalind says, beautiful tradition of elevating the chasuble. Ron's is asking, when did we start and stop celebrating Latin Mass? So I think what Father Richard was talking about, what were you saying about 800 AD? Was that around the time in which it was kind of standardized? And it's kind of hard to say because it wasn't all uniform across the world in the early church.
Yeah, and even the that's really just for the canon going silent. I mean, the Roman Rite as we know it is pretty much solidified by, you could even say, the 5th century.
When it was placed into a book form, right, into a missal that was universally applied across the Western Roman Empire.
Well, and then it starts to get complicated, because the Roman Rite at that time would have just been really Rome and the environs. But if you went to Spain, if you went to France, if you went to even North Italy, you would have seen significant variations.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Tara Salazar, are you planning to join the Rosary for Our Nation and have the Eucharistic procession? We are having Eucharistic procession for sure, and we'll talk about that at the end as we go into some announcements. So looking over at the YouTube channel for Conversing Clergy. Nadia Simmons is asking, who had to sit with the kids, Father Ricardo? I don't understand that question.
What?
Who had to sit with the kids, Father Ricardo, is the question.
Who had to sit
That's
with the
Nadia
kids?
Simmons. I have no idea what she's talking about. I had to sit with the kids. I sat with kids when I was, watching you on the right side, or excuse me, praying in the mass. But I was with the Newmans. I don't remember or maybe the Simmons were behind me. I don't remember.
I don't know.
But I had to sit with the kids.
There we go.
All right. So Julie says, I still have my veils, could never part with them. Switching over to the YouTube channel for St. Bartholomew. So we got a thumbs up there for the meme. Well, very cool. Let's check out a photo of the domestic church that came in. Pictures of the domestic church. I always say photos, pictures of the domestic church. In this case, it's a drawing of the domestic church. Now, this was part of Maggie Lopez's collection, her family creating different images. And so this one is a little Darth Vader. And I think that's God. That's God the Father with the Trinity hat on. And it says, que mi fuerza te acompañe. So that means, may my force be with you. That's kind of beautiful, huh? I like that.
Yeah, no, and I publicly want to thank Maggie's father for giving me for my birthday beautiful drawing of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you so much. It's
Oh, by the
beautiful.
way, I don't know if people know that it was your birthday this week.
Yes, last Saturday. September
Saturday.
19th. Thank you.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Oh, that's the same
Still-
birthday as my sister.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
still a young man.
Great day.
So just a quick reminder, if you want to continue in connection with us, especially our visitors who are with us for the first time, you can hit the follow and like on Facebook, and also subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell so you can receive notifications whenever we go live or publish videos. And while you're at it, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can also share the video, and that helps to share it with others. So thank you so much. All right, we're going to go ahead and open up now to question and answer, just general Q&A. We have Father Richard with us. So I would say shoot away with any questions you might have. Please make sure to put a question mark at the end of your question so I can prioritize, because I have to filter through all the different comments that are great and questions, but I want to prioritize questions for now. So I'm going to look around here and see if we have a question that's come up yet.
Father Rick, did you know that your birthday is International Talk Like a Pirate Day?
No way. I had no idea. I've always associated with the horrible earthquake in Mexico. I don't know if you knew about that one in 1985.
I was aware of that one. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, now I have 2 reasons to like my birthday.
A bit more,
see? There you go.
political than a deadly earthquake. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, so they were asking. All right, I know why they were asking that question. Or Nadi was asking that question. When the women sat on the right and the men sat on the left, who sat with the kids? That's what Nadi is asking. Who sat
It didn't
with the
matter.
kids?
Didn't matter.
It didn't?
Probably boys with their dads. I don't know. I'm just making this
Oh,
up.
who knows? Yeah.
I don't know.
Or they just
I
let
think
the
it probably
kids.
depended on the age. Yeah.
They let them outside. That's what they did.
They were at home. They left them. No, they would never.
That's funny. A lot of happy birthdays coming in.
Thank you.
So that's really cool. Yeah, I know Father Nicholas has his birthday on December 24th, Christmas Eve. And so I like to say, people put up Christmas lights and Christmas trees, and everybody really gets together to celebrate Father Nicholas's birthday on the 24th. So that's just too funny. I think I want to make a video about this, and I might be sort of stealing my own thunder here, but I do want to share about my experience at the Latin Mass, this last one that I went to, the one that you were celebrating, and just how amazing it was to be there and for it to finally click. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, my first one that I went to, that we did way back, I don't know if it was July or June or when it was, I remember just having this experience thinking, oh yeah, I can see why they changed this. Like, that's kind of what I felt, I think part of it also was that we, because you weren't using the microphone at first. And so the Latin Mass was designed for smaller spaces, and there was more of a projection where the parts that people are supposed to hear could be heard better.
It was a low mass.
Yeah, and it was a low Mass too, yeah. So
that's could be dry experience for
yeah,
me.
yeah. But as I was there, this last time, even just putting aside that there was more music involved, when I really began to enter into the reality that that what I am meant to do is adore. And I actually picked that up from Cardinal Ratzinger talking about that in the Spirit of the Liturgy, which I recommend anybody to read that. It's really a beautiful work. And that we're meant to adore, even in the Novus Ordo. The most powerful thing we can do is adore, to adore at the moment of consecration, where there's nobody saying anything at that moment. The same thing when we receive communion, we say the Amen, but we're not necessarily saying anything, even though now we do have music that's being sung during the communion rite, which is laudable. But nevertheless, that there is a sense of silence, and I like to think of the angels, the choirs of angels, and it's not official church teaching that there are choirs of angels, but it's something that theologians have spoken about, and that you have the highest angels, and then you have your lowest angels. There's 9 choirs. Guardian angels are at the lower level, the lowest level, and then you have your seraphim that are the highest, and seraphim connected to that word light or burning, that they burn with God's love. They burn with his radiance because they are contemplating him constantly all throughout eternity. And this contemplation is a silent act because God is doing all the speaking within them. God is speaking within them. And I would say that's another way to think of contemplation. So the highest form, I would say, or the highest moment would be, or the most powerful thing that we do is adore, is open up ourselves to contemplate. So, so that moment I wasn't saying anything. I didn't even hear what you were saying. Instead, I was contemplating and adoring what was happening, the divine mystery. And then it clicked. I was like, oh, that's what's supposed to happen.
I think that's a beautiful insight, Father, because, just like Father Richard was explaining about this beautiful chant, and then at that moment, boom, it's just silence. It almost seems, this sacred music is lifting you up, right? It's taking you up and up and up and up until, sacred music cannot take you there. And boom, it has to be quiet.
Yeah, and
only silence will take you to that climax.
That's exactly right. And boy, I can really go into this because I think it has an immediate consequences for how we celebrate the Novus Ordo, how we have been celebrating it in all throughout the world, even, and that maybe it hasn't been the best way to do it.
Right.
Not saying that there's quote unquote wrong, that it's been done wrong, but I think part of a reform. When you have reforms in the church, you're going to go left or right, up and down a little bit, and then we find our bearings through it. So I think that we can be a bit calm about that. But anyway, going into some of the questions here, Amber Prince asks, "Forgive my ignorance, but what is the difference between the High Mass and the Latin Mass, or are they one and the same?" So you can have, I don't know, in the Novus Ordo, would we call anything a High Mass? I don't think so.
No, we
That term
we'll left that terminology, but Father Richard, if you want to talk more about that.
As a technical term, that really is only used for the extraordinary form. We may use it analogously when we have a Mass in the ordinary form that is really celebrated with a lot of solemnity, with incense, with lots of servers, etc. But as a technical term, it's reserved for the extraordinary form.
There you go. Very good, Amber. Thank you for the great question. Allie Newman's with us. There is a note in the Latin Mass material passed out at St. Bart's about a 7-year indulgence for those adoring the Blessed Sacrament during consecration. Is this indulgence just for the Latin Mass or the Novus Ordo? So that's a good question. I mean, certainly the indulgence still applies for the Latin Mass for sure, and it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you know anything about that, Father Richard?
I don't, but I would imagine, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So
I
would imagine it would apply to Eucharistic adoration during any form of Mass.
Yeah. Also, what is Novus Ordo? That's from Amber Prince. So the Novus Ordo is new order. So it's the Mass that was established during the Second Vatican Council. From Pope Paul VI. That was 1969. Am I correct on that? Did I get that date right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the current form of the Mass that we're celebrating now, with the Versus Popolo, although Versus Popolo isn't actually part of the Novus Ordo. In fact, the wording in it indicates Ad Orientem. But anyway, but it basically the Mass, any Mass that you go to, 99% of the Masses are going to be Novus Ordo. So, excuse me. It really is kind of the ordinary way that parishes are instructed to celebrate Mass. Katie Robson says, Father Chris, when I was taking photos, I could see something stirring in you. It was beautiful. I'd never taken photos of you in the pews before, but this time I took 3 throughout the Mass because I felt called to do so. I was just feeling that it was just a feeling that I had. It was so strange, but then for you to say that would explain it. Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe I can, see the photos.
And complimenting your really theological, beautiful reflection about that point of the Mass. I wanted to find this quote from Revelation 8:1, which, as you know, there are a lot of parallels between the liturgy, the Mass, and the book of Revelation. So in chapter 1, verse 1, right, it says that when the 7th seal was opened, look what it says. There was a great silence in heaven for about half an hour. Isn't that beautiful?
Did you just now think of that?
Yeah, I remember there was something like that. I just wanted to see the quote.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm probably going to use that for the homily this weekend.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. Question to all priests. Are you having any special prayers or devotions this Friday and Saturday for Amber Days? Anything we laity can join with you is the question. Amber Days. I've heard that term before. I just trying to learn more about it.
We're not really doing it publicly, but I think the more we are, establishing, this Mass, I think people, they will want to live liturgically.
Yeah.
This calendar from 1962.
How about you, Father Richard? Are you doing anything for Amber Days?
I am not.
Okay. And you want to tell the folks what Amber Days is?
Yeah, basically 4 times a year we would have these groupings of 3 days that were generally associated with harvest, periods of harvest or planting. And so these kind of, with a somewhat penitential tone, but offering up prayers for bountiful harvest, and just a reminder that, all the good created gifts we receive are from God, and without whom we would have nothing. All is gift.
Yeah, very cool.
So like today, tomorrow, and Friday, right, would be Amber Days?
Correct.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
Oh, yeah, not Thursday. Mm-hmm.
Lucy Kildo says, thank you so much for having the Latin Mass at St. Bart's. We wish all priests knew how to offer it, and I am learning. So very soon I'll be part of that cycle. Laura Montre says, in some parts of Croatia, the men and women still sit separately at Mass. I've seen the parents attended Mass separately too, each taking a turn keeping the kids at home. I saw no children, but my own at the Masses I went to there. Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of try to skip around getting to some questions here. A lot of great comments, though. Let's see. Switching over to the St. Bartholomew YouTube channel. Let's see. I'm not really seeing any questions for now. I'm going to kind of read through some of the comments. Let's see. I'm seeing on Facebook, Tara does say, Dear Fathers, thank you for covering this topic. We love and appreciate your wish to help us. We crave for reverent Mass, either Novus Ordo or extraordinary form, and yes, silence is much needed. And Amber Princess, thank you. Learn something new about the faith every day. And awesome Father Ricardo, and 30 minutes of silence is great, says Amber. And Judy, here's a question that I missed. When we adore silently at the elevation, are we to say prayers of adoration quietly to ourselves, or just looking at the Eucharist? You can do either one. I've heard some would say, my Lord and my God. They kind of say that silently. And sometimes I might say something just in my heart as I'm raising up the host. Sometimes I'm just in silence.
Mm-hmm.
However you feel. I would feel inspired, I would say. So awesome. All right, we're coming to the end now of our question and answer. Thank you so much for your comments. You all have done such a great job. So great that I think we now can come to this. I had to include this one. It's in Spanish, so I want to include some Spanish. This is not really a meme, but it's meme-ish. It's a comic. But here we see Jehovah's Witnesses. They're saying, Señora, ya encontró a Jesús? And the woman says, Soy católica. Nosotros nunca lo perdimos. So basically, it's Jehovah's Witness saying, ma'am, have you found Jesus? And she said, no, I'm a Catholic. We never lost him. And the reason why I like it is because look at that little statue of Our Lady of Fatima in the middle there. So
Nice.
anyway, I kind of like it. So, and that is from, I think that was from Veronica Guajardo. Yeah. So thank you so
Beautiful.
much, Veronica. Muchas gracias. Very, very cool. All right, we're going to give just a little bit of information for you, try to fit some announcements to inform you of the goings-ons of St. Bartholomew. But before I do that, I want to say a special word of thanks to our Patreon patrons who continue with their generosity to help Conversing Clergy to develop in its mission. So Alcida Chasen, Mary Mesquite, Robert Sacher, Karen Kubos, Michael De Nicola, Lori Nelson, and Suzanne Perez. Thank you so much for your generosity. Those are our top contributors, our otherwise known as our active interlocutors. So we do have the Rosary tomorrow in English, contemplating the luminous mysteries. That will start at 3 o'clock p.m. 2:45, we open up the stream to receive your petitions. If you want to submit memes or even pictures of the domestic church, you can send them to cmeyer@st-bart.org. And that's the postmortem email from Christopher Meyer back when he was here with us when we started these streams. So cmeyer@st-bart.org to send in your memes or your pictures of the domestic church, and we hope that we can include it in our Conversing Clergy programming. Next week for Conversing Clergy, we are going to talk about progressivism and relativism. So that'll be next week at 8 o'clock p.m. And we may or may not have a priest with us. It's we definitely do kind of struggle to get priests we're all very, very constantly busy. That's why we really appreciate Father Richard joining us tonight. So we're talking about progressivism and relativism and all those different things that you hear. Don't judge, get with the times. Your truth is my truth, unless it's contrary to my truth, in which case your truth is not true. So we'll talk about that. And we have a way for you to give. If you want to give to St. Bartholomew, feel free to go to givebart.com, and that way you can sign up on Faith Direct to give regularly or a one-time gift, whatever you would like to do. And please don't feel bad if you can't, because this is a hard time that we're in, and most importantly, your prayer is what makes a big difference. Pray, fast, do penance for the parish. That's the most generous and powerful way that you can give to the parish in any of your parishes. If you want to sign up for adoration, I think we are still in need of adorers. So you can send an email to stbartsadoration@icloud.com. So if you can please, if you're thinking about doing it or if you want to do that, please sign up now. Stop what you're doing. I don't care if you're cooking. I don't care if you're tending the plants. Whatever you're doing, just stop it. Send an email to here right now. We'll wait. We'll go and wait for you. Let us know when you get back. Okay. So what else? Something else. Oh, yeah, September 29th. So September 29th is really cool. September 29th is going to be a great day. And that is because we are going to, let me see if I can turn this off real quick. That is because we are going to begin our adoration, restart our perpetual adoration. So that starts after the 8:30 a.m. Mass on Tuesday. It's going to be a great day. We are also going to be changing our confession times. So Tuesday, and so we're not going to have any more of the morning confessions except on Friday.
But it's not even at the same hour, so just forget about what we have.
Just forget about what we used to do. So, and make sure to check the parish website for the specific times, but I'm going to risk saying what they are.
Okay,
are you ready?
I think I
all right.
That.
Okay, here we go. So Tuesday, Thursday, 5:30 to 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Okay. Friday, 9:30 to 11.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one I get wrong usually. So 9:30 to 11 on Friday. So we keep a morning time open for people. And then Saturday from 3:30 to 4:30.
Is it only 1 hour?
That's what I thought.
Yes, because Mass is at 5.
There you go.
Yes.
3:30 to 4:30. So I got it all right. And
good.
if my moderators can give me a thumbs up and congratulate me to make me feel good for getting that right.
And not
Stars.
because we only have 1 hour doesn't mean it's only really 1 hour, because sometimes we have 4 priests.
Yeah, sometimes
so it's
4
really
priests.
like 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, there you go. I like your math.
Yeah.
Your maths are amazing. Love those maths. That's great. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else. I think I pretty much announced everything else.
Saturday procession?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Saturday at 5 o'clock, we have our, it's going to be a bilingual Mass, and we're going to begin the procession immediately afterwards. There's no 7 p.m. Spanish Mass this Saturday. And why are we doing a Eucharistic procession? It's because we're celebrating the anniversary of Perpetual Adoration and kind of celebrating the restarting of it.
Yes,
so that's
26 years.
26 years.
Wow.
Yeah, congratulations, St. Bartholomew. And we're not going to count that it was shut down during coronavirus. We're not going to count that.
No.
We're not going to let the virus take that away from us. So 26 years straight is what I'm saying of adoration. So in English and Spanish this Saturday coming up. Father Richard, do you have anything you want to announce or share? Anything going on in the Archdiocese or?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Very cool. I really appreciate you being on with us, Father Richard. It made a real big difference tonight. It's always great to have priests that we've never had on before to have on, and people get to know you and get to know priests in the Archdiocese and the expertise that you brought to bear in our conversation tonight. I can tell you I learned a lot about the Latin Mass, and
I hope he can come back.
Yeah, we hope to have you back, Father Richard, if you're ever available in the future.
Well, thank you, Father Chris. It's been a pleasure for me to spend my evening with you and with Father Rick.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and end with a Salve Regina. And Father Ricardo, do you want to go ahead and do the blessing as well for us?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to switch over now to the Salve.
Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, et spes nostra salve. A te clamamus, exules filii Eve, a te suspiramus, gementes et flentes, in hac lacrimarum vale. Ea ergo, advocata nostra, illos tuos, misericordes oculos, ad nos converte. Et Iesum, benedictum fructum ventris tui, nobis post hoc exilium ostende. O clemens, O pia, O dulcis Virgo Maria. Dominus vobiscum,
Et cum spiritu tuo.
benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus.
Amen.
Amen. My name is Father Christopher Plant, pastor of St. Bartholomew here in Katy, Texas.
My name is Father Rick Arriola. I'm one of the parochial vicars here.
And who are you?
I was Father Richard Hinkley.
Thank you for joining us, Conversing Clergy who talk and listen. And remember, because he loved us first, we seek to do his will. Have a good night.
Here I am at your door. Would you let me